Hello, it's 9 o'clock and you're watching BBC One for the very first edition of Live and Kicking! Woo!
It was very different being a main presenter on it because obviously I'd always avidly watched it and that was what I was aspiring to do. So it was a really huge change for me, but it was everything and more that I thought it was going to be.
1993 saw an almost new name and an almost new lineup. Emma Forbes was promoted from the kitchen, John Barrowman sidestepped from the stage to the screen, and Andy Peters was another graduate from the mighty broom cupboard. Chuck in Trev and Simon, you've got an awful lot to pack into 3 hours and a bit.
Every week we will be here at this time for the next 7 months.
7 months?
Yeah, 7 months.
I thought it was 7 minutes.
I thought it was the 7 Seas of Rye by Queen.
When you look back at programmes such as Swap Shop, Superstore and Going Live and compare them to Live and Kicking, if you watch a tape of it, the first thing you'll notice is the speed at which Live and Kicking moves.
Oh no!
Ah!
You are supreme! Oh, blimey. The beast lightning.
I too am a very frustrated singer. It must be something about being on Saturday mornings and being close to all those bands and everything. 'Cause I need a man. My heart is set on you. Fair shape up. You better understand.
Sing it, Emma.
To my heart I must be true.
For me to do. You're the one that I want.
You are lovable. You are lovable.
We had this little mini, and oh well, we'd put guests in there and we'd do this fake driving test.
Oh, well, hang on a minute. If you're Jason Orange, then, are you Howard Grape and Mark Apple?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you are sponsor, Mr. Ribbon.
Have you ever stroked a weasel? Have you ever stroked a weasel?
Hey, look, here's one.
Oh, hello.
Famous 5 Minutes for me was one of the best parts of the show because it's a real opportunity to find out what is going to happen, where you sit at the edge of your seat and think, this could all go terribly, terribly wrong. Is this your house? Is this you? Hello there.
You better stop before you go and break my heart.
Oh, Vicky, why bother to send you to the polls winners party when we've got E17 in your house right now?
Baby, if you got to go away, don't think I could take the pain. Won't you stay another day?
If I go in the room, you'll see who we are making famous for 5 minutes. I remember the camera went and we burst into their living room and the two of them were sitting there in their pyjamas. This isn't cool. And they were quite sort of offish with me. Daryl and Sam, good morning. Daryl and Sam, there are actually a production team down there, and they actually said, look, come on guys, we know you can do Smashy and Nicey, and we know you do it very well. And actually 2 hours later, they came back on and were fantastic.
Great, mate, and I'd love to stay and chat all day, but I've got to make a move. This is Mike Smashy, bob, 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 a dang, dang, bob, 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 diggy, diggy, dang, dang, bye, bye.
Yes! And even, you know, 2 years later, Daryl came back again and happened to actually be a finalist in one of our competitions.
Hey, monkey boy, you think you can scare armor and get away with it? No chance, puppy pants. Get out of here! Oh, Ace!
And what about those 2 comic geniuses, Trev and Simon, or as they become known in the footer, who?
The characters, a lot of people say, you know, where do the characters come from? And what happens is we pick them up at the bus stop, kind of down at Shepherd's Bush Green, just before we start, and they all pile in, and we push them in the dressing room, and then when they're needed, we call them out, don't we?
Yeah. But in reality, on a more serious level, they come from the dark recesses of our perverted minds.
It is Gorgon the Gopher! Look into his eyes and you will turn to Oliver Stone!
Oh, no. What, look? And you'll turn into Sharon Stone! Oh, no! Oh, I'm tempted to look. I want to look, Bulldog. I want to look.
No, don't look, don't look! Don't look, don't look!
Look!
No!
Look at me, Bulldog!
No.
Look at me!
No. I looked!
Look!
It's
got to make us laugh. You can't try to guess what's right for an audience.
I really hope that the most intelligent person in the world would walk through that door and solve the secret. Oh dear.
Well, I think the secret's safe for a bit, anyway.
Because there's one rule we all abide by.
What's that?
And that, Mr. Keith Chegwin, is that we don't do duvets!
Actually, they don't do duvets. They don't do duvets? I don't believe it!
Do you have a message for us?
We don't do duvets.
Ooh, I don't know about Sting. I'll tell you something. His donkey jacket stinks. It
Oh, it
stinks.
does.
Oh,
It
it
does.
stinks. Oh.
Some of the most memorable people I would say were people like Sting.
What's the first instrument you ever played, and how old were you?
I used to play on the linoleum.
What's the linoleum? Can you explain that? What is that?
That was a joke.
Oh. Obviously it's a floor. That made me look a bit stupid, so that was quite memorable.
How do you manage to stay looking so young and attractive?
That's not your question.
It is, Sam. You think Cher's a bit of a babe, don't you, really? Yeah, he does. He does, Cher.
How old are you?
9.
Just my age range. You just made it.
Why did you play the Christmas tree formation when it's clearly not working?
Well, I'm glad.
Amy, straight in there.
I have a trick. If I don't know the answer to the question they're asking, I slap my earpiece and I say, I can't quite hear you. But if you're asking what I think you're asking, and then I give my prepared stuff.
Can't sleep now. We're live on air. Stop sleeping. I suppose one of the funniest moments of the Leprechauns was on Andy's last show, when we did this thing where they had a door that was a time machine.
Oh dear.
Doesn't bode well for future career for you.
Dramatic.
Good evening, the headlines.
And it was to see what you'd look like in 20 years from now. And Andy didn't know anything about this, and I walked in and said, oh, I'll have a go.
That is the last show.
Hey!
Oh!
Hey! Has it worked? My mother came out instead. And it was just brilliant because Andy was rendered completely speechless.
Oh, I feel a much older woman.
I will miss it. I used to miss doing Live and Kicking when it wasn't on when I presented it, you know.
What will you miss most about Live and Kicking?
Emma.
Oh. Obviously having a brilliant working on-screen relationship with Andy was, you know, the key to it. You couldn't do that kind of programme if you didn't get on with your co-host.
I think I've lost my 3 winners.
You haven't. Don't tell me that. Don't tell me that. Slide down there. I'll stay in the heart. And I shall read you. I shall read you my 3. It's very, very difficult. In fact, I would say it's virtually impossible to find a job that is as much fun or the same sort of unique atmosphere. And I'll see you in September.
Bye-bye.
Live and Kicking. Live and Kicking.